3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Tech Mzansi, the podcast powering South African medical device innovation, brought to you by MDMSA.
Welcome back to Tech Mzansi. Innovation, as we know, often stems from a simple yet profound need. And in today's episode, we're diving into a solution designed to bring comfort and confidence where it's needed most. We're talking about the Easy Squeezy device and Impulse Biomedical. Joining us to share the remarkable journey behind this invention is its visionary creator, Mr. Gokul Nair. Get ready to hear how a simple idea can truly make a world of difference in patient care. Let's meet
Good day,
Mr.
everyone,
Nair.
and welcome to the second episode of Mzansi MedTech. I'm Tracy Moonsamy, and it is my absolute pleasure to be introducing you to and chatting to Gokul Nair of Impulse Biomedical. And just a little bit about Impulse, and I'll introduce this, and I'm sure Gokul's got his story to tell, but I'm just so impressed by a South African business that is patient-led and is driving healthcare innovation. My personal ethos is leave it better than you found it, and now I have found two individuals who inspire me with a desire to take products to the people. So without further ado, Gokul Nair, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to meet with you, and it's been such an exciting journey just preparing for this and learning about your products and your business. So maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, a little bit about your company, and I think something you do really well. Tell us about your purpose and your vision.
Okay, sounds good. Well, first of all, I just want to say it's such an honor to be part of this podcast. I think there's a lot of really awesome medical device innovation and manufacturing that happens in our country and our continent. So having the pleasure of speaking about it, especially by a South African-led group, is really incredible. So I just want to start off by saying that, and thank you, Tracy, for your time as well. My name is Gokul. I'm one of the co-founders here at Impulse Biomedical, along with my co-founder, Giancarlo Bierkes. We started the company back in 2017. So the kind of story is we were both doing our masters in biomedical engineering, and part of our masters was to talk to various doctors and patients around some of the healthcare needs and what was going on. So we were writing up our thesis, and I'll never forget this. Giancarlo was in this scenario where he could not stand because there was a lot of pain because he was writing for so long. He could not sit because there was a lot of pain. And so he was basically kneeling on his chair while writing his thesis. So this like kind of late evenings, we started talking about what are we doing? We're writing a master's, linked to medical devices, and we need to make sure this kind of gets to market and makes an impact. So that's kind of how the company started back in 2017. But as a company in general, we're a company that develops medical devices, and our dream or vision is to break barriers of access, based out of Cape Town in South Africa, a suburb called Woodstock. It's been an awesome journey, and I'm very excited to share more about it today.
So I can see how your personal background has shaped your desire to innovate and make new products and make changes in medical technology engineering. But could you tell me a little bit about how your personal leadership style has emerged through this process?
Okay, so I think what I want to start off by saying is that my parents are teachers, and they taught in the former Transkei area in close to Coffee Bay, and they happened to know the doctors that opened the hospital up for my brother when his arm was broken. So there was a level of privilege in that sense, but the people around us were not so privileged, and the access to healthcare was very limited. So when you're confronted with that, and like I mentioned, it's a very similar story for Giancarlo as well, there's a strong passion for making a difference, of actually doing something. And what happens as a result is that the leadership kind of becomes a lot more solidified, because there is a strong why in why we're doing this. So from the get-go, from 2017, when we started the company, or had an idea to start the company, we're talking about the vision. And because it was so deeply entrenched in us, leadership comes easily, because it's not something we're trying to lead. It just almost comes naturally to us. And not that we're great leaders in a broader sense. It's more that we're passionate for medical devices, and the team that we have, in a way, also lead us. It's almost a two-way leadership process. We lead them, but they lead us as well. And I think when you dig into your why, that leadership comes a lot easier. And that's how we found that why, and the reason we're able to lead and start a medical device like Impulse.
Excellent. So, leadership has so many different elements. One is being courageous. And the other part is that there's a saying that you're only a leader if someone's following you. If not, you're just someone going on a long walk. So talking about someone following you, maybe tell us a little bit more about your team. From what I can see, you're quite a diverse, young, vibrant team. Maybe tell me a little bit about the team and how the team really builds and grows this culture of leaving the world a better place.
So I want to start off by saying that our team, so when we started the company, we're both quite young. We're in our mid-20s. And when it comes to medical devices in the pharmaceutical space, it's often slightly older people that are involved in the space. So it was challenging getting in. And our team has always been quite a young team. We have incredible team members. I could literally speak for the next 3 hours about our team members. We have team members like Jason, for example, who's someone that I admire. He started his journey at Impulse about 2 or 3 years ago, and he's someone that works or volunteers in an ambulance. He works as a firefighter, also volunteering. So he cares a lot about making a difference in the world. And he brought that way of thinking into the company in a very strong way. We have people like Kirsten, who has a brilliant mind in how she thinks about developing medical devices. She is able to think end to end around the development, the design. How do we get something to market? How do we manufacture at scale? There's a lot of thoughts that go into it. We have Munya, Saj, Leanne, Azra, Grant, Lihan, so many team members, Rupam, etc. That all are an integral part of how we work and how we've led a changed company.
Thank you so much. I mean, I can see the levels of leadership that you have and how integral your team is. Medical devices are it's an interesting field because it's highly innovative and it's changing at a rapid pace. Yet you're within a very restrictive compliance space, and that takes a very specific culture and values. So what are the values that Impulse Biomed embraces that allows you to be both innovative and keep patient safety front of mind?
So this culture has been, I think, one of the biggest challenges we've had to build, because when you think of medical devices, there's a tension between two aspects. There's a tension around a innovation mindset, which you can only innovate when there's a level of freedom and a lack of restriction. And because we work in a very highly regulated space, there's structure because you have to document everything you do, and there's a system, and there's all these standards you have to follow. So that tension around innovation and the regulatory requires a team to work with that structure, but still have a level of freedom to operate and do what they need to do. And building that has been a challenge, but something that we've been successful in doing. Of course, with ups and downs and hiccups, but that's one tension that we deal with. And the other kind of tension that comes when building a company like this is also the tension between funding and profitability versus making a difference. So as a team, especially the young team, I mentioned the team that we have, they want to make a difference. So the products that we built are going to make a difference in people's lives. But we also need to make sure as a company that we're well-funded, profitable, and therefore sustainable. The sort of analogy we use is those airplane demonstrations where you need to wear your mask first before you help and have someone else wear a mask. So we're trying to make sure as a company we're wearing our mask, we can take care of ourselves before we start supporting the world. But our dream and vision, our heart lies in in supporting and changing or making a difference in the world while ensuring that we have a very sustainable company.
I love that analogy of wearing a mask and taking care of yourself first. And I think it's an excellent time for you to maybe tell us a little bit about your flagship product and maybe how you came to develop it.
All right. So when it comes to the products, we have two flagship products. One is the Easy Squeezy and the other is the ZB Pen. What the Easy Squeezy is a device that's been built for children and elderly patients, but for anyone that struggles to use the asthma inhaler. What we found when we were at the Red Cross Children's Hospital is that most patients struggle, especially children, struggle to use their own asthma inhaler. So if you have your asthma inhaler in front of you by any chance, what we kind of request you to do is take it and try to use your pinky and your thumb to activate it. It's a large amount of force. It's almost impossible to use your asthma inhaler if you're a child because the force required is very large. The second issue that we got confronted with is the stigma when it comes to using an asthma inhaler. Children, around 42% of children don't want to carry their asthma inhaler because they are worried about getting bullied, they get made fun of. I think many adults that we speak to say when they were a child, they got told that they are weak because they use an asthma inhaler. So there's a strong stigma component to asthma, which is disheartening. And the third issue that we saw is that many asthma inhalers don't have a dose counter. So most patients have no idea how many doses are left. So we designed a very simple device, the Easy Squeezy. It's a globally patented device that does three things. It reduces the force of activation. It reduces stigma because of its design, its colors, and the characters we've added. And thirdly, it has a dose counter. So how it works is that let me just quickly redo this, is that here's the asthma inhaler. You would put it into an Easy Squeezy, which looks like this. You pop it in, you would close it. And now, instead of using it up and down, you use it with the bunny ears here, and you push that. And what that does, it reduces the force of activation by 4. You can see the kind of funky colors on it and those characters that make it a lot more appealing for children to use. And thirdly, we have a dose counter that keeps track of doses. And that's our first product that we are very kind of excited about. And I do want to share a bit more of the why around the Easy Squeezy. When we started the company in 2017, I would basically depend on my brother. I was staying with him, and Giancarlo was staying with his girlfriend. We had a passion for making this company work, but we also have financial needs, etc. So I found myself house sitting, dog sitting, modeling, if you can believe it. And Giancarlo also found himself doing various tasks to take care of himself and to be able to sustain being part of the company. And we made the decision, we can't actually continue the Impulse. We probably need to close down. But we're in this process of speaking with children who have asthma. And this is why Easy Squeezy for us means quite a lot, is we took the Easy Squeezy and we were doing usability studies, talking to our patients now and the doctors around the device. And in comes a 6-year-old girl that has never been able to activate and use her own asthma inhaler ever in her life. And she uses the Easy Squeezy and for the first time in her life is able to use her own asthma inhaler. Her mom, who works 3 jobs, she has to come and help her child use the asthma inhaler when she needs it. So that means she has to leave work sometimes to go to school, help her child activate the device. The kid stays with grandmother, and sometimes the grandmother also struggles to activate the device. So then the mom has to then come to grandma's house to help activate the device. So there was a sigh of relief, and the mom was so excited, the child was so excited that she gave us both a hug, and she was like, this is such a cool device. So we looked at each other and we were like, this is worth doing, and we need to continue building medical devices, whatever that means for us. And I mean, for us, it's exciting that we were able to get over that hump and now have a more successful company. So that's all about Easy Squeezy, a device that we're very passionate about. And I can spend a bit more time about ZB Pen now, if that's okay.
Oh, it's definitely.
So the second product is a device called the ZB Pen. What we found is that most patients we initially thought only in South Africa, but after research, we realized it's a global problem. But most patients that suffer from anaphylaxis can't afford the standard treatment for anaphylaxis. So I'm sure you're wondering, what is anaphylaxis? They're the people that struggle with severe asthma and allergies. So when you consume an antigen, it could be a bee sting, it could be, for some people, lentils, for some people, peanuts, etc. What happens is that your entire immune system starts attacking itself. And that means your central nervous system starts shutting down, you start struggling to breathe. And it's kind of scary. You only have 10 to 15 minutes left to live if you don't get injected by a dose of adrenaline and get yourself to hospital. So the only way to do that in an emergency situation is by injecting yourself with what is called an adrenaline autoinjector. And the only device available in South Africa is called the EpiPen. And it's a device that's manufactured mainly in the USA. And what that means is that by the time it arrives in South Africa, its expiry date has kind of depleted. It's a device that has adrenaline, and adrenaline usually has a shelf life of between 12 and 18 months. So you manufacture it, you ship it. By the time it arrives, you probably lost about 12 months of that. You only have 6 months left. So what often happens is that a patient buys an EpiPen for about 1,800 Rand and then throws it away in 12 months' time or in 6 months' time because it's expired. The second issue that we found is that, so that's kind of linked to cost and expiry. The second issue that we found is that current devices have been built for the average man. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the average man's skin to muscle depth in their thigh, that's where you inject the EpiPen, by the way, or you put it onto your thigh and you inject yourself. The skin to muscle depth is about 15 millimeters, and that's what the needle length for most autoinjectors are built around. But if you look at the average woman, their skin to muscle depth is about 18.2 millimeters. So that means for the average woman, kind of current devices don't reach deep enough into the muscle tissue. And what this often means is that the rate of absorption of adrenaline is severely compromised. Sorry, I know this is getting like a little bit hairy and detailed. So those are kind of another clinical issue that we came about. And the third issue is around safety. People often get confused about where the needle is and where the safety cap is. And often people inject their thumbs instead of injecting their thighs. So we developed the ZBPen, which is the world's first reloadable adrenaline autoinjector. I mean, to be honest, it sounds like such a simple solution. Why not just reload the device? And it's something we've struggled to explain to people, but the device, which is the ZBPen, it has about 200 newtons, 20 kilograms of force locked in a small area here. So if you want to reload a device like that, you need to put quite a lot of work and innovation in ensuring that the device is modular. So we built this device that allows for that modularity, and that modularity allows for reloadability. Now, for the first time in the world, we have a device that is reloadable and therefore far more affordable. When a device or the adrenaline expires, instead of throwing away the entire device, all you have to do is, I'll just quickly demonstrate. All you have to do is open the device. There's a kind of a SIM card like tray thing. You push it open, you open it, and then you'll have a cartridge and you replace it. There'll be 2 clicks. One to know it's been locked in, and a second click when you close it. When you demo it, you always struggle a bit, but there you go. Second click, and that's locked in and ready for another 12 months. And what that means is that it's about 64 to 74% more affordable for patients. So the kind of story here, and the second part is, now that you can replace the cartridge, the needle length is actually adjustable. You can select a needle length that best or is most appropriate to you. If you're a more obese patient or a thinner patient, you can select a needle length that is shorter, and therefore that rate of adrenaline absorption is optimized. So that's the ZBPen as a whole. There's quite a lot I could talk about both those devices.
That's really so interesting, and for me, who really don't understand a lot of the technical elements, I know the products. I think that you've done really such a great job of innovating with purpose. You know, a lot of a lot of people get into the space of innovate to innovate and let's make a new product because, new shiny magpie syndrome. But I love the purpose behind your innovation, and I love that you are driven by costs. And by lowering costs, it was lowered cost to make it more affordable for the end user, not make it more profitable. And I get that businesses exist to make profit as well. But I would like to just segue into something else that came out a bit strongly from, talking about your product, is the sustainability element that you're designing in for the future, designing in to use less material. And it's really refreshing to see this people, planet, profit concept come through in a very lived experience, from you and Impulse Biomed. I think you as business have a lot to be proud of, and I think that you really are ahead in terms of innovating with purpose, because innovation is easy. It's easy to think of ideas. It is difficult to commercialize and make those products sustainable. And I really commend you and your business for bringing this product closer to the end user, both in the way that it's used and by making it more affordable. So maybe tell us now a little bit about those end users that you target, how you target, and how do they get to you?
So, first of all, thanks so much for that, Tracy. That means a lot for us because when we develop the products, so I want to say that when you develop a medical device, especially from scratch, you always have to think globally because, there's regulatory frameworks you have to work with. And when we initially developed the ZB pen, we were thinking only of South Africa. So we developed it. We happened to get on Business Insider, and there was a lot of media hype around the device. And we went a bit viral on various platforms, but one was a post on Reddit that went quite viral. There was hundreds of thousands of views or tens of thousands of views and likes and comments, and which was a bit scary for us because the company and the ideas had just started. But what was very clear for us is that at that time we were thinking too narrowly. We were thinking about South Africa, and we were getting comments, feedback from people around the world, from the States, from the UK, from Pakistan, from India, from China. A lot of people saying, "Where is the ZB pen? Would love to buy it." So what we've built is something that we think has this global connection and this bigger kind of story to it.
So who uses it, and what is your routes to market for these products?
So for the Easy Squeezy, our initial thought was to build it for children. And again, I really believe in stories because stories kind of really paint a picture of what really happens. So I was going to Johannesburg for a trip, and I stayed with a friend's family, and his grandmother used the Easy Squeezy and also had this experience of, oh wow, I would love to have this device because I can't use my asthma inhaler. And we hadn't kind of thought about elderly patients, we're only thinking of children. And over time, what we realized is that Easy Squeezy is a device for all age groups, anyone that suffers from asthma. We're actually doing a market study in the States right now, and teenagers that are using the device, when they go on a run, they said using an asthma pump, it's a lot tougher when you're going on a run, but with the Easy Squeezy, it was a lot easier. So our initial target market is looking at children and the elderly, but we think it's a device that has broad appeal. So it's a device that we want anyone with an asthma pump to use with. And the reason we say that is that we've done clinical studies on the device that shows that, so what we did is that we gave 60 patients the Easy Squeezy, and then in 6 weeks, we swapped them over with just initially with a meter dose inhaler only, swapped them out with an Easy Squeezy. And what happened is that their lung function improved, their adherence rates was better, and they were a lot more interested and keen on using their asthma inhaler. So Easy Squeezy is for anyone with asthma, and we are looking at a global audience. We have CE marking for the device. That means that we have global or European approval for the device. We're currently working with a distributor in Australia, so we're hoping to get the device into Australia as well. There, by the way, we've talked to more than 2,000 or 3,000 different doctors in Australia that show a strong interest in the device. Also gives us a lot of excitement, not just a South African issue, it's a global problem. When it comes to ZBPen and with Easy Squeezy, I'm sure here you can see it says Bronchi Booster. That's because Cipla Pharmaceuticals, which is one of the world's largest respiratory companies in the pharma space, they make most of your asthma inhalers and they work in various markets. Cipla South Africa worked with us last year to take the Easy Squeezy. They call it the Bronchi Booster, and they are launching a campaign to enable kids to use their asthma inhalers more. And for us, this also means quite a lot that a big pharma company would partner with a medical device company like ourselves. And it's given us a level of credibility that's allowed us to scale and talk to bigger partners in various parts of Europe, North America, India, and China. So that's the story of the journey of Easy Squeezy and who it's been built for.
The Bronchi Booster device is a handy, reusable tool that makes using a pressurized inhaler easier for kids. It fits over the inhaler and helps by reducing the effort needed to use it. Here's how to use your Bronchi Booster device in 6 easy steps. Step 1. Remove tool. Remove the card insert and reset tool completely. Step 2. Open device. Slide the clip at the base of the Wisp Bronchi Booster to release the back cover. Slide the back cover down. Step 3. Reset counter. Using the reset tool provided, rotate the gear anti-clockwise until the red dot aligns with the arrow below. This will set the starting dose of 200 in the counter window on the front of the Bronchi Booster device. Step 4. Assemble inhaler. First, place the mouthpiece of the inhaler into the opening in the front cover. Next, press firmly on the top of the inhaler canister until it clicks into place. Step 5. Close device. First, slide the back cover onto the front cover. Second, slide the safety clip forwards. Step 6. Activate. Hold the device upright and squeeze the ears together to release medication. Replace the inhaler once the counter shows the red zone. Bronchi Booster devices can be reused up to 12 times. For more information, visit bronchiboosters.com.
The ZBPen is for anyone with anaphylaxis, so severe allergies. And I think it's important for me to clear the misconception around anaphylaxis. A lot of people think it's a problem that more developed world markets have. So they say anaphylaxis is something like Europe, North America, and Australia have, but not a problem in Africa. But when you look at the research, especially what's emerging, is what we're seeing is as people are shifting their diets to a more processed food diet, they receive less immunoregulating compounds in their diet. And what this means is that in Africa, in Brazil, in India, the rates of anaphylaxis are skyrocketing. It's actually very scary. We kind of worried that in the next 5 to 10 years, our continent will have a major issue when it comes to anaphylaxis. So our short-term market for ZBPen is the US and Europe and Australia, because that is a more established market and research around anaphylaxis is well established. So we're able to enter those markets. And once we have generated enough revenue there, we're able to scale the product into Brazil, India, and China. And what's really shocking here is there are no auto-injectors available in any of these markets except for South Africa. So any of the BRICS nations, none of them have an adrenaline auto-injector. And for us, that's a very scary stat. That means that when someone in Brazil has an anaphylactic episode, what do? They probably take a syringe, open an ampule, take some adrenaline, try to inject themselves. And that's not a very safe way of doing it. And we're hoping we can shift that. We hope that ZBPen becomes the primary mode of taking care of people with anaphylaxis. So maybe to summarize, both devices, we have global patents. We're trying to get users around the world. It's focused on asthma and anaphylaxis.
Perfect. And in South Africa, is this a product that is sold to state and private, or is it just private?
I'm glad you've asked this, and maybe we need to kind of clarify that Easy Squeezy, so far we've sold to Cipla, and Cipla are in the process of rolling out the device. They'll start rolling it out from October this year. We are currently in talks with various partners to roll it out in independent pharmacies. By mid-September, we'll also have a launch an online launch. So please do stay tuned and order an easy squeezy for your child or for yourself or someone that has asthma. So we'll launch it later in the year. So it's not available right now. ZB Pen, we're in the process of raising funding to complete the development. The device is done. We've done clinical trials. We have successfully been able to inject patients with a device. And we have, from a clinical point of view, comparable results to what exists out there. However, the usability is better. We saw that the results show better safety as well. We are raising funding mainly for this component. So this component is the cartridge that needs to be filled with adrenaline. Looks like a very simple thing, but no one in Africa fills a cartridge. So we're kind of in this scenario where we were working with a company in Port Elizabeth to see if we could fill cartridges there, but it requires a high capital cost. So we're raising funding to either fill it in Port Elizabeth and be one of the few cartridge fillers in the country, or with the partner. I mean, the partner will be one of the few cartridge fillers, or outsource it to another country. So it's something that we're working on, and we're hoping to get ZB Pen into market within the next three years or so. So 2 to 3 years, what we're aiming for. But to be clear, it isn't market yet. It is something we're in talk with, and we've had a lot of partners assisting us and guiding us through this process.
Thank you. And I think, again, an excellent way now to talk about, so I can, from your plan and your next steps, you clearly have a desire to manufacture products locally, work with local suppliers, manufacturers, build it, within that local ecosystem. And I understand there are significant challenges and opportunities, and you often, it's not easy to develop a medical device without the ecosystems that you need. So maybe just talk a little bit through why local manufacturing is important to you and to Impulse Biomed.
So there's two components to this. There's the practical component, and then there's it's called the hard component. You want to keep manufacturing in South Africa because it grows the ecosystem, it grows the medical device industry, creates jobs, it's good for the economy. So that's the hard side. You want to make a difference for the continent. But when you look at it from another practical angle, manufacturing in Cape Town for us was also a very practical decision. We found a very good manufacturer called UVT. They used to be called UV Tooling. They partnered and worked very closely with us to injection mold and manufacture Easy Squeezy and ZB Pen. We couldn't have done all of this without them. And for us, especially early on in 2018 or so, we got a lot of advice to push our manufacturing to China or to India or to Europe. And the issue that we came across at that time was also very practical in the sense that if you ship those things or we ask someone else to manufacture something that's innovative, you kind of need to go there and almost live in that country for a couple of months, deal with the manufacturers, etc. But when you have amazing manufacturers like UV Tooling in South Africa, why go all the way where I could just drive over to Killarney Gardens, visit them, see how things are going? So for us, local manufacturing there's a passion to it, but there's also practicality to it that we get to see how our innovation is being built, how it's being molded, what the changes are and what's going on. So that allows us to control the process. And remember, I mentioned the two tensions, that tension of regulation and innovation. For us to be able to successfully, let's call it, deliver on that tension, we need to work with local manufacturers who can work and walk with us through every step of that way.
So Gokul, just I love the fact that you're getting closer to your end users and you work on, whilst you manufacture locally, you're thinking global. And tell me a little bit more about your choice to manufacture locally when you've obviously had choices to either import this product or make the product outside of South Africa and then bring it in. So maybe just tell us a little bit about your desire, your drive, and your vision for local manufacturing.
So from our end, the reason we went for local manufacturing is twofold. One is a very passion-driven thing. We want to keep manufacturing in South Africa because it's about job creation, it's about the economy, etc. But there's also a very practical element of manufacturing in South Africa. So we work with an incredible company called UV Tooling or UVT, and they've been part of the process for us. So we did the design development, and we started working with UV Tooling or UVT to do the injection molding and to be able to scale the product. So we had the choice of going and outsourcing the product to a Chinese company or to a European company. However, it's very important to realize that because medical device is highly regulated, it's important to control your process very tightly. But when you work with an external manufacturer that's in another country, you can't control that process, and that control and that quality then goes away. So for us, choosing to manufacture locally is a quality decision. It's also a decision from the heart, but it's also a very practical decision that we can. That's the only way we can do it, so that we can fit the needs of quality, etc. However, there are some complications when you manufacture locally. Not all, like I said, with the adrenaline, we can't find an adrenaline filler in South Africa, which is a bit disheartening. Needles are not made in South Africa, so we have to bring that in from another country. So although we try to keep as much as possible and manufacture in South Africa, there is certain components that we need to import in. And again, because it's a design or a device that's never existed in the world, there's a whole process of designing and tightly controlling every step of the process so that this product gets out there.
Perfect. I think you're raising such an interesting and I think a challenge for most manufacturers, and that is they just isn't enough manufactured components in South Africa. So there's a huge desire, and we're building and growing that ecosystem. And maybe the question to you, Impulse and Impulse Biomed, is I understand you make products and you want to get products closer to the end user, but do you see this gap around enabling local manufacturing by developing and innovating within the component space?
It's a great question. It's a very sharp question. I think for local manufacturing, especially in the medical devices space, to increase and develop, there's a need for that, I guess, more end-to-end development and manufacturing, because in a way, when something is innovated in a country, you want to work with local partners, like I said, so you can control the process. So when you start there, so in our case, sure, we can't manufacture all components in South Africa, but as we start investing and start generating revenue, we could build those plants or work with local partners or manufacturers to build plants that do those manufacturing in locally. So for example, the cartridge filling, as we said, we can't do it in South Africa. We are considering building with a partner, building a small section of their plant to be able to fill cartridges. But if we start generating revenue and profits, we could invest in that company and actually start building that plant up. So buy local, because it's a very practical thing, and it starts developing the entire manufacturing value chain within South Africa. So it's beneficial for all parties.
Absolutely. I mean, you're speaking the scalability benefit, and that is exactly what MedTech needs, our ability to scale, because that's how we become more efficient, and we're then able to put a little bit more back into innovation. It's the only way we're going to be able to grow the local industry. So I'm really, really enjoying this interview, but I'm sure that you'll also have to go make new products. So maybe tell us a little bit about your future plans, what's coming next, both for you and for Impulse.
Thanks, Tracy, for the opportunity to talk about that. So this is the fun of having a youngish company, is that there's so many new ideas coming out. We have Kirsten in our team that's built also world's first auto-injector that we haven't patented yet, so we're still working on the process of it, but it's going to be a revolutionary device that allows us to inject not just intramuscularly like ZV-Pen does, but also subcutaneous injections. We could do different viscosity drugs, etc. So that's the device that we are in development, or we're working towards. We have a first prototype ready, and we're in the process of patenting it and hopefully getting that out in the near future. And in terms of Easy Squeezy, we have a interesting development that we're working on is getting rid of the mechanical dose counter and moving towards an electronic device. So what we're seeing in the industry, in medical devices as a whole, is there's a need in adherence control. So we need to make sure patients use their device. So an asthma inhaler has been around for like 50, 60 years. And the issue right now is that most kids, elderly patients, people with asthma don't use their asthma inhaler. So we're busy building an app that will have an IoT system. So basically a system a device that speaks to the phone, and that system will then speak to the doctor. So the doctor will be able to say, all right, I know this Tabo has used his device when he was in the playground. It worked, it didn't work. Or he used the right drug, or etc. So we're trying to look at that entire value chain around how people buy the device, do they use it correctly, when do they use it? And that data becomes very important for everyone who cares for that patient. So that's another idea we're working on. But at the same time, we're also trying to focus ourselves and not get thrown up by all these ideas. We're focusing on commercializing ZB Pen and Easy Squeezy right now. And once that's done, we are excited to start bringing out new products. We have many ideas. We have many doctors that reach out to us with new ideas, and we do want to start innovating and building those.
Tell me, where can we find out more about you, Impulse Biomed, what you're doing next, your website, Instagram? Tell us a little bit.
So we have a website, www.impulsebiomed.com. You can find our information from there. We are working on revamping our LinkedIn. So you can also find us on LinkedIn. We'll be posting more company updates, what we're doing, etc. Our Instagram is not quite alive yet, but our two functions right now is our website, LinkedIn. And also please feel free to send us a message via the website. Please show your support, because for us, that means a lot. It also means a lot to our patients, also our investors and our supporters. When you say, hey, we love your product, we love what you're doing, it really makes a difference for us, because it also inspires the team. When the World Health Organization came, they said they've never met a company that's so young, that's actually so advanced in the sense of being able to stick to the regulations and build innovative technology that's at a global stage. And that comment we shared with the team, and everyone was smiling ear to ear, because sometimes you feel a bit isolated working in South Africa. MedTech is quite a small industry here. So when you get compliments from bigger organizations like the World Health Organization, means a lot. So what I'm asking you is reach out to us, and please show your support. It'll mean a lot to us.
Perfect. I'm sure there are going to be many people after this reaching out to you for various reasons, but it might be to develop for them, and might be just to say, we're so glad that you're stuck with your journey, because someone's life has been changed. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I feel very inspired to go and probably create some device of my own right now.
Please do it. We're here to support you as well.
Thank you so much. And look, your final parting words, like I said, I think leave it better than you found it, is you guys, your partner has a different saying that you have to have changed the world by doing something. So I think that your heart is in the right place, where you're a growing and thriving local manufacturer who is making huge strides in the innovation space. From both myself, as someone who's very passionate about the industry, MDMSA, really wish you everything of the best, and stay close to us. Give us your updates. We'd love to hear about what's happening next. And we wish you all of the best.
Tracy, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Pleasure.
That's all for this episode of Tech Mzansi. We hope you enjoyed our discussion. If you did, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us to bring you more great content. And get ready, because you won't want to miss episode 3, where we'll be featuring the incredible insights of Mr. Ashvar Maharaj, showcasing Mr. Sagran Naidu of NH Metals. Keep your eyes peeled for that one.